ask me at the end of the tour. I give a pretty thorough tour and I might answer some of your questions along the way. Before we go inside, there's no eating, no drinking, no smoking, no chewing gum. You guys look like you're going to behave. Please take caution with your steps. There's going to be a couple of areas of water on the walkway inside the cistern. The cistern is also a somewhat dimly lit space without any windows. If at any time you experience discomfort, please let me know or make your way to the nearest emergency exit. There's one inside in all four corners. They're not alarmed. They're there for your use at any time. Photography is allowed and encouraged. You can even use your flash. If you'd like to post to social media, please use our hashtag, which is BBP Cistern, as in Buffalo Bayou Park Cistern. Any questions? Let's go inside.
All right. Let's go.
Welcome to the cistern. We'll go inside to the right.
Oh, wow.
Now that we're all inside and you can see this incredible space, while you're taking pictures, I'll share some facts about the cistern. The cistern was built in 1926 as an underground drinking water reservoir for the city of Houston. It was built by a local company, the Standard Construction Company, and they were kind enough to donate the original blueprints to us. We made high-resolution copies of them, and the copies are hanging up inside the visitor center, right behind the main desk. You might check them out after the tour. I apologize, everybody. I kind of need everybody on the side of me. Sorry about that. I'm going to be walking backwards in a minute or two, and I need to not trip on anybody. Thank you so much. The main engineer on the project, W.R. Hallway, was a well-known waterworks engineer from Tulsa, Oklahoma. The cistern cost $152,770 to build in 1926. In today's money, that's about $1.8 million, still a bargain. The cistern took 95 calendar days to construct. The site had already been pre-excavated, and the cistern will turn 96 years old in August of this year. Throughout this space, there are 221 columns. 165 of them stand at the full height of 25 feet. Over 6,000 cubic yards of concrete went into this entire structure. It was all mixed on site in 3 different grades, and over 800,000 pounds of reinforcing steel. Half of that alone went into the 10-inch thick ceiling. The walls start out at 8 inches thick at the top and expand out to 18 inches thick at the bottom. This space is over 87,500 square feet, or a football field and a half in size. When filled to capacity, it could hold 15 million gallons of water. Now that original water came in from the west side where my light is pointed. There is a slight grade in the floor that would ease the flow of the water by gravity. Over here to this east corner, and over there is a submerged drain where the water used to exit and go to the main water plant, which used to be where the Aquarium restaurant now stands today downtown in Houston. Everyone, that's a quarter mile east as my light is pointed. Now everyone please notice, I'll shine my light on the beveled base of the column. The water depth in here is only about 12 inches. Please don't be fooled by that beautiful illusion the light makes on the water, making the columns appear much taller than they are and the water much deeper than it truly is. Instead, enjoy that beautiful illusion as we make our way around the space and learn about the story of the cistern. In order to understand and appreciate this tale, we'll go back in time to 1836, when the city of Houston was founded by the Allen brothers. At that time, the main port was also called Allen's Landing. Imagine that. And Allen's Landing used to be, and still is near, where Buffalo Bayou intersects with Commerce Street downtown. And Buffalo Bayou was a key player in the development of the city of Houston. It transported goods and people and served as Houston's main source of drinking water. Still others got their drinking water from digging shallow wells, and many others collected rainwater off their roof to drink. One of the biggest issues Houston had back during that era were fires. The pumping and storage methods of water back then could not keep up. The biggest fire happened in 1878. It was known as the City Market Fire. That fire decimated the downtown commercial epicenter and burned down City Hall. City Council met and realized they lacked the infrastructure to fight these fires. So they outsourced the water system to a private company, the Houston Waterworks Company. Within 1 year, the Waterworks Company built a steam-powered pumping station on the banks of Buffalo Bayou that could generate 2 million gallons of bayou water into the city mains every day. Now in 1886, clean artesian water was discovered 180 feet under the city of Houston. Everyone much preferred drinking that over the bayou water. So the waterworks company drilled artesian wells and pumped that water into the city mains instead. Sadly, though, over the next 20 years, a series of continuing fires threatened this growing American city and put a strain on this early water system. So secretly, the waterworks company began to pump untreated bayou water back into the water mains, mixing it with the artesian water. Yes, it put out fires fantastically, but everyone began to complain about the look, the taste, and the smell of this water. It reminded them of the bayou all over again. Well, the waterworks company claimed no wrongdoing and said they were only using bayou water for firefighting and clean artesian water for drinking. Many incidents disprove this. The one we'd like to share happened in 1903 when a 3-foot-long dead eel was found blocking the water pipe of the women's ward of the downtown police station. Eels don't live in an aquifer 180 feet under a city. They usually live in a bayou or a river. Gee, that waterworks company lied. Imagine that. Sounds a little funny and gross today, but back then it was serious. A year later, in 1904, the U.S. Supreme Court made a ruling. Houston could no longer pump bayou water for any purposes, not even firefighting. This embarrassment led the city's mayor at the time, H. Baldwin Rice, to purchase the waterworks company in 1906 and add it on as a municipal utility. Everyone, here comes our first site feature. Up here, we have a recessed hatch, then we have this ladder, and over here we have a stairway. There's a set of these 3 items on all 4 walls inside the cistern. Back when the cistern was being used as a water reservoir, these were the only 4 entrances, and people only came inside once this site was mostly drained to do some maintenance. Now, a person had to be hardy and hale to lift open that 50-pound hatch, climb down this big long ladder, only to land on the bottom on a little 2-foot ledge that came out from the wall here. That's all they got to stand on. Now, that little ledge did extend all the way around the perimeter back then, but also remember this was only meant to hold water. Our public tours were way off in the future, so this walkway wasn't here. We didn't have this railing, we didn't have the stair railing, and we didn't have any of these LED lights. Back then it was pitch black in here. The person doing maintenance would have a little lantern with hardly any lumens. If they were careful with their steps, they'd make it to the little stairway. If they slipped at any time, they might slide down the steep embankment into the little bit of water below. Now, we don't know all the brave people who helped maintain this space for so many years, but because of them, we have this beautiful, raw architectural monument you see here today. At this time, I honor all the unsung heroes of the cistern, and we continue. You guys have to make it fun. So in 1906, the city of Houston took control of its water system and continued to grow. By 1925, the city was pumping 20 million gallons of groundwater a day. The next year, 1926, completion was done on what was called at the time City of Houston 15 million gallon covered reinforced concrete reservoir. Well, today we just call it the Buffalo Bayou Park Cistern. We think that name's a little easier to say. You can imagine if the city was using 20 million gallons of groundwater a day, having this backup system of 15 million gallons was almost a day's supply for the whole city at the time. Pretty handy. Despite this fact, the city did nothing to address issues of water sanitation. This water wasn't checked for quality, it wasn't treated in any way, and it was pumped directly into people's homes. Yes, it was. Ironically, studies were undertaken at the state and federal levels by public health officials in 1928 to check into Houston's water system. They found many dangerous conditions and made a list of recommendations, but the city at that time deemed those too costly and did nothing. As fate would have it, a year later in 1929, a big rainstorm happened with an ensuing flood, and the main water plant ended up submerged under 20 feet of water, causing it to fail. Now the city needed drinking water and responded by asking owners of private wells to turn their water loose into the city's water system. But these wells were used for industry and agriculture and only further contaminated the water. This resulted in public health officials asking all Houstonians to boil their drinking water. Still, this water needed to be treated at the time, so the city tried to temporarily chlorinate it, but did not have enough equipment to do so. So some equipment was borrowed from the public school swimming pools. I leave you at your own imagination on how that ended up. Eventually, though, by 1933, the city did achieve what's known as full certification status of the water system, meaning there were enough safeguards in place at the industrial and domestic levels to ensure good quality of water without any contamination. And the city of Houston's held this high certification every year since 1933 and actually has some of the best quality water in the United States. Everyone, here comes our next site feature. This is our 30-inch intake pipe. All the water that's entered inside the cistern for the last almost 96 years has come through this pipe. The water used to come from the well fields, but the water we pump in here now comes directly from the City of Houston water mains. It's just like what people get from their tap of their homes. And this water's inside the cistern for two important purposes. One is that aesthetic quality of the light reflecting on the water, making those columns appear twice as tall. The other purpose is to add moisture to this space. For most of its life, the cistern was working as a water reservoir, filled with water within 6 inches of the ceiling. We believe all that water storage actually helped preserve this concrete quite well. We do not want it to dry out. Water has to constantly be repumped inside here. It's recirculated every 48 hours as the cistern's columns, ceiling, and walls breathe in that moisture. And we believe that's just the moisture treatment the cistern needs to keep it young and supple and going strong for many years to come, just like the rest of us in Houston's moist weather. We continue. So in 1933, the City of Houston took control of its water sanitation issues and continued to grow exponentially so. By 1938, the city needed 70 million gallons of groundwater a day, but the city's water system could only provide 43 million gallons. Now the cistern was handy again with its 15 million gallon reservoir, but that was not enough to meet the needs of this rapidly growing American city. So over the next 10 years, more ground wells were drilled and more pumping stations added on, so that by 1948, the city was pumping a record 130 million gallons of groundwater a day. But pumping all that groundwater caused the water table to drop, and what's known as an issue of subsidence. This meant that parts of the city of Houston actually sank several feet during the 1930s and 40s, mostly Houston Heights and downtown. But it still made it imperative that the city create another source of drinking water. And that happened in 1954, when the city dammed up the nearby San Jacinto River, giving us what's called Lake Houston, and access to 52 billion gallons of surface water. As the city continued to grow, by the mid-1970s, Lakes Livingston and Conroe had been added on as additional sources of surface water at many more billions of gallons at that. Now in 2004, this water reservoir sprung a big leak and could only be filled about 16 to 18 feet above the level we're standing at now. Because the city had switched to using surface water, suddenly this facility did not seem as important as it used to be to the city's water system. It only held 15 million gallons of water, and it didn't seem cost effective to make the repairs or do the maintenance. So in 2007, this water reservoir was permanently decommissioned from the city's water system. Shortly after, in 2010, Buffalo Bayou Partnership embarked on a plan to restore and develop 160 acres along Buffalo Bayou from Sabine Street to Shepherd Street bridges, what we today now know as Buffalo Bayou Park. Well, the park designers wanted to see inside here at the time, but the only way they could enter were down those original 4 maintenance hatches, down the big long ladder, and stand on the 2-foot ledge. They shined their lights in this mostly drained space at the time, but they did not expect to see all 221 raw industrial columns, the light reflecting on the water, and the sound amplification. You guys, we have to have a little fun in here.
Yeah.
This reminded them of the Basilica Cistern in Istanbul, Turkey. And they were correct in that belief because the main engineer on the project, W.R. Hallway, had been inspired by Basilica Cistern way back when he made his plans for the site. Now back to those park designers, believe it or not, they came in here at the time to see how easy a demolition might be, to turn this into parking for the park. Yes, that really was their intent. But once they came inside and saw how beautiful the cistern was, they knew this had to be preserved, and it has been. We're standing on the walkway today to prove that. Now the park designers were so taken with all these industrial motifs, they decided to incorporate some into overall park design. Everyone, let's look up at the ceiling. Can you see the board pattern up here? This is called board-formed concrete. This is how the ceiling was made, but it's also how these walls were made. 2 parallel rows of boards were stacked up. The concrete was poured in, allowed to cure and set. Then the boards were pulled off, and here we have, after almost 96 years, you see impressions of the boards, the wood grain, and those beautiful water storage stains that stop 6 inches from the ceiling. The park designers used this beautiful board-formed concrete pattern when they built down that entrance tunnel you came in. The Lost Lake Center, the Waterworks Visitor Center, many other park structures owe their main design feature in here to the cistern's board-formed concrete pattern. Now, if everyone would be so kind to turn around, look up, here comes our last big site feature. That big structure sticking out from the wall is called the spillway. Back when the cistern was being used as a water reservoir, the then it was time to turn off the big black water well valves you passed out front to come inside for the tour. Back in the day, those used to be placed around the outside of the cistern in different areas and really did control the water flow coming in and out. Now they're just out front for everyone to play with and do their yoga poses on. Now back to Buffalo Bayou Partnership. They wanted to share this incredibly raw industrial space with everyone. Very few changes were made. The lighting, emergency exits, the walkway, the entrance tunnel, the nice dehumidification system I love on a hot day when I'm walking backwards giving a tour. We started having our first historical tours in here May 13th of 2016. Thank you all 5 of you for being on my tour this afternoon. Recently we had our first 3 art installations inside the cistern. The first one was called Rain by Magdalena Fernandez. The whole cistern was filled with beautiful projected patterns of white light that would rise and fall with the sounds of a rainforest in a rain-soaked night. It was incredible and lasted 6 months. The second art installation was called Spatial Chromo Interference by Carlos Cruz Diaz. Again, the cistern was filled with projected light, but this time it was colored patterns of light kinetically moving throughout the whole cistern. And people got the option of putting on a white lab coat so they could walk through and become part of the art themselves. That art was so popular, it was held over 3 times, lasted 11 months, ended April of 2019. Now our third art installation, Time No Longer by Henri Salah, just ended this January 17th and it had a 10-month run. This particular piece of installation art was a very immersive, otherworldly experience of sound, fill, and light. We had a very large screen going across the center of the cistern. It was 22 foot high and 143 foot long. Onto it were projected images of a weathered 1980s DJ turntable turning on itself in 0 Gs in an international space station. 2 different kinds of composed music were played juxtaposed as people walked around the perimeter of the cistern. One was Quartet for the End of Time by Olivier Messiaen, who was a French prisoner of war in World War II. He created this piece with high notes of a clarinet. The second piece of music was a saxophone solo in reference to an homage to Ronald McNair. Ronald McNair was one of the world's first black astronauts. Besides that accomplishment, he was also a very accomplished musician. He wanted to be the first person to play a saxophone solo and record the first music in space. He also happened to be aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger in 1986, which unfortunately ended in tragedy. Now these 2 pieces of music were played as people walked around. You saw the beautiful images projected on the screen and the reflection on the water, a special lighting apparatus behind the screen. It was a very full experience. I'm telling you, I could not describe more than I just said. It was very powerful. We hope to have our next art installation in here just before the end of 2023. It'll be our 4th one, and each one has been a surprise and a wonderful beauty for us all. Hope you get to experience it for yourself and come and join us, hopefully, when we get the new one in. Please check our website, buffalobayou.org. Hope you get to come and join us again. Now, down here in this corner, we like to do a little group sound demonstration so you can hear that beautiful echo for yourselves. I'm going to shine my light on the ceiling and count to 3. When I count to 3, could all 5 of you please yell out into the cistern like you mean it. Don't hold back. It's your chance to get it all out. But when I bring my light down, could everyone please stop and listen? Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, yeah! That's Christmas. That is real creepy. Just keeps going.
Like that. Now wait a second. I don't want to disappoint you guys. That was just your practice shell. We always do it twice. So the second one is the one that really counts. This is the one that counts. So I want you guys to wind up, get ready to really cut loose. Okay? Is everybody ready? I'm waiting for this gentleman here.
The video. There we go.
He's ready now. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
I don't think I've heard anything like that in my life before. Very.
Well, everybody gets a Texas Gold Star. You guys did really good for only 5 people. We usually, with 30 people in here, it just resonates for a long time. Believe it or not, we average in at a 17 to 20 second echo. That happens because it's all concrete in here. Nothing to absorb the sound, it's just going to bounce around. What enhances it is the water in the bottom, the amount of columns in the space, and their symmetrical positioning with each other. Well, everyone, Houston's water system today has little bearing on the one from long ago. Today, the city has access to 1.2 billion gallons of surface water in our 3 surface water lakes every day for Houstonians to drink, and still over 200 million gallons of groundwater every day for Houstonians to drink. Now, even though the cistern is no longer needed as part of the city's water system, we can still honor it and share its story, and Buffalo Bayou Partnership is giving this defunct water reservoir a whole new purpose in these historical tours, art tours, sound healing meditation, musical performances, and different kinds of things to happen in this space in the future. Now we're just about at the end here. We still have 3 things left to do. First, you guys might have some questions I hope to answer. Then there's going to be a little song, and then finally we're going to have a special lighting demonstration. So first, let's get everybody's questions. I know I said a lot.
You've done a wonderful job, yeah.
That's very kind.
Listen, on the interior of the columns, again, is it metal? What, the construction of the columns?
Oh,
the interior?
there's all different shapes and sizes of reinforcing steel. Back in 1926, when the cistern was constructed, back then there was not a standard for what we call rebar today.
Okay.
So they put in all kinds of shapes and sizes of what was called at that time reinforcing steel. If you look at the copies of the original blueprints in the visitor center, on one of the blueprints it shows all those odd shapes and sizes. You see evidences of the reinforcing steel coming out in all different kinds of places. You can see the rust stains, that's some of that reinforcing steel. Thank you for asking. Anybody else have a question?
I guess you probably said it already, but I don't remember. What's directly above all of this right now?
Above this is the brown foundation lawn. It literally is the exact footprint of the cistern above is grass. There's a stage at this end, right where I'm pointing right now with my light, right above there, and they're setting up for a big private performance tomorrow.
Okay.
Private group has rented the cistern space above there. There's also a terrace directly above the visitor center where you guys came in to check in for your tickets and all that. And those 3 things can be rented all together or separately. You could rent just the terrace or the lawn or the stage or all 3. So thank you for asking.
Cool.
Anything else?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
It's a bit of a cryptic question.
Sure. I'll do my best to understand you.
Well, not cryptic, it's that's in the event of an earthquake, will these still stand?
That's a good question. And I'm no engineer. My degree's in art, but that's an engineering question because it depends on the magnitude of the earthquake, and it depends on the structure and how it would be affected in its structural integrity after almost 100 years to stand up whatever magnitude that might befall it. So if it was a minor one, I don't think it would make any difference. But again, those kind of, that's a really, it's an interesting question, but I honestly cannot answer it.
It was like a hurricane or, what kind of, it seems like it's really well built.
Yes, because
When
it's
all the
almost.
flooding was here, was this
That's the number one question on all of our tours, and that refers to Hurricane Harvey, which happened in 2017. It was a big rain event more than a wind event. And so the cistern, as designed by W.R. Hallway, did an excellent job working as a water reservoir, keeping wanted water in and unwanted water out. But everyone, we cut doors in here for public tours, and so that kept keeping the water out went out the window. So 19 trillion gallons of rainwater fell in East Texas, and that was many days of rain, Houston included in East Texas, of course. So the rainwater came through the tunnel, underneath all our emergency exits. All of our hatches have little leaks in them that were amplified by those many days of rain. Now, not to worry, we actually have a little pumping system and a little miniature spillway right over here, over by that stairwell by the spillway. That little pumping system kept up with all the rainwater, and also the 750,000 gallons we have on the bottom of the cistern right now. We have to have a system for that. You remember, it's the city of Houston water, but that little pumping system, 750,000 gallons, kept up with all the rainwater coming in until Buffalo Bayou hit a flood stage of 40 feet. Once that happened, it turned off all the electricity automatically in Buffalo Bayou Park. The park has been designed to flood over and over and over again because people know who live in Houston, that is what's going to happen. So when it turned off the electricity in Buffalo Bayou Park, it turned off our pump in the cistern. The rainwater collected just below the LED lights, 7.5 million gallons of water. Now, once Buffalo Bayou went back down to a safe level, we got the electricity back on in Buffalo Bayou Park, turned out our pump in the cistern. 2.5 days of pumping, we were back down to that aesthetic level you see here today. Thank you. that is the number one question almost 5 years later. Thank you for that. And it's usually from people who don't even live in Houston that ask that question. It's really kind of interesting to me. I can have a tour of one person and it's asked. Any other questions? All right, we're going to move on. I'm going to offer you guys an a cappella song so you can hear the resonance inside this space in a different way. First, let me close the door so we don't have any other extraneous sounds. And this is my own song for the cistern. It's called The Cistern Is. The cistern is a beautiful space of light within and love that flows for all to see and all to feel, for all to hear and all to know. May this water heal. May this water flow. Let this reflection of love ever grow. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you. That's very kind. Thank you so much. Everyone, you had a little sound. Now you're going to have a little light. I'm going to turn off the lights inside the cistern. Take the big high power flashlight. Shine it down between these two columns. They're closer to each other to support the structural seam. This is the long axis of the cistern. It's 17 columns deep. The short axis here is 13 columns deep. That's how we get that odd number of 221 columns in here. Now with the lights out, the light shining above the water, the reflection of the columns are going to pop out in a very dramatic way. Worth a picture too. Come on down, everybody. This will be my spot. You can be on either side of me. Shoot over my head. I admit to being height challenged. It's kind of hard to hide. So, hang on. I'll go get the lights. Here comes the lights.
Here goes me.
First, you guys are going to see a little reflection on the ceiling, this little bit of water below, maybe some of our famous drips along the way. Once I get the light parallel to the water below, the reflection of the columns will pop out twice as tall. Now, just so everyone knows, there's absolutely nothing else like the cistern as a defunct water reservoir. This site's open to the public in the United States. Houston has a very unique feature here. We're grateful for everyone's visits today from Jersey, Minnesota, and Houston. Now, the closest thing in stature to the cistern truly is Basilica Cistern in Istanbul, Turkey. It was made around 500 AD, pillaged granite, marble columns, and a couple of Medusa heads thrown in. Now, as magnificent as that is, that's way the heck over in Istanbul, Turkey. So we're glad everyone came to see us today. Everyone, I'll go to the right, I'll go to the left. I'll come back to the center to show you my favorite view of all. Here we go. See, it doesn't matter where I throw the light inside the cistern, it too looks very magnificent. Don't worry, I'm going to go to the left here in a second. Did you get it? Make sure you get a shot. You got it? All right, we're going to the left. Here comes another amazing view inside our own magnificent cistern. I know, it messes everybody's perception up. Did you get it? All right. Did you get it, sir?
Perfect. Thank you.
We're going back to the center. Here comes my favorite view of all. This is what I call the infinity view. As I drop the light, it's going to make it look like the columns go on forever off into infinity. This is my favorite view because it makes no mystery inside the cistern. Now you can't quite tell how deep it is in here, but you guys know better. You've been on the tour. What I'm hoping is that you'll take this picture, share it with others, make them think the cistern's a lot deeper than it truly is. Maybe they'll be curious enough to come and get a tour. That's my evil plan, and I'm sticking with it. I think my evil plan might be working, and thank you for helping me fulfill it. Did you get yours, sir? Gentleman on my left, you got it? Oh, he got it
Let me
too.
take one.
Everybody got it? All right. I'm going to go hit the lights, everybody. And I'm going to come back and ask everyone a little question before we make our exit. Don't worry about the study. I think you're going to know the answer. Here comes the lights. First, everyone, thank you so much for your visit today. I hope you enjoyed your time inside the cistern. Now here comes my question. If by chance you did happen to enjoy this little tour today, would you please be so kind to tell others to come and visit the cistern? Thank you so much, and please follow me out. I apologize for asking, but is this for private use, your
Yeah.
personal use? Thank
Yeah.
you. I had to make sure.
To show my wife because she
Okay,
couldn't
it's
make
not
it today.
commercial.
Oh no.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for your visit.
You were awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
Such a great personality.
I don't get that compliment very often.
Yeah, do we buy your CDs online or?
Right, your voice.
I did do a CD many years
Amazing.
ago.
Pardon?
You did a CD?
Yeah, I did. It's called Spider Students of It was swing and all my own composition. That's very kind of you guys. Thank you so much. I haven't had the compliment of ever being called intelligent. Wow, I'm going to wear that for a while.
You are.
You-
Memorize all that and be able to
Right.
walk
How do you
backwards.
remember all
Now,
of
how I
that?
memorized it is the sound of the words. Do you notice how there was a cadence in my voice? I had to change some of the words of the tour and make it my own private tour, in my own way. But the cadence and the sound of the words themselves helped me memorize everything.
No,
That's the only way it would work for me. Because I'm a dominant auditory learner.
No, it's very well done. You did
That's
a
very
great
kind.
job.
Sorry, I kind of choked up a little over by the spillway, but sometimes it happens to any tour guide. So
It's meaningful to you.
that's great. I hope you guys enjoy your time here in
Thank you.
Houston. I hope you enjoy your time in Houston. Thank you. Safe journey.
It's not so cold there.
Well, no, now. Well, it has been cold the last couple of